Danielle
She's
coming?
supposed to be here, but
Okay.
it's 7:30.
All right, January 11th, planning board meeting. First up, Central Mill Estates. Andy?
Hello,
Hey?
can I come up?
Yeah?
I want to try that chair. We should probably wait for Fred because he knows more than I do.
Okay.
But we could try.
Should we?
Wait for you.
What's up?
Fred, see, how do you get this chair to go back?
I don't know.
No, Andy has his precious, so let's talk to Fred now.
Go up and down.
See, they did that to keep you busy.
No. I don't know about this.
Here, I'll give you this chair.
You gotta sit in
I thought you had the same one.
Yeah.
I know, well,
My office is the same. I just don't adjust
There's a
it.
little lever on the left-hand side, right down there.
Your other left.
that makes me like that.
Should we start with our lot release, or should we start with the affordable housing?
Well,
Whatever you guys want to
You
start.
wanna start with the affordable housing? Yeah. So what's going on with the lot we're supposed to appraise?
I picked out a perfect one for you guys.
Okay. Which one is it?
I don't know, which one?
73.
Was it 7? You sure that's the right one?
Yeah. 73.
Do you have a plan that shows which one?
I do.
I'm assuming this is a lot phase one.
Yeah.
Right on that sheet there.
Okay, it might be simpler. I
Oh,
don't know.
you want to see it on?
Just, oh, that's fine, the phasing guide would be good, yeah.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Some well-used plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is 73, where is it in the,
On the overall?
What station is it at, Fred?
Between 450 and 700. Right there.
you might do this, choose on it.
Want to know what?
Yeah.
Well, I could joke and tell you that there's hazardous waste on the property and you're gonna end up with it. But that's not what it is. What it is that, I hope we're not gonna get into, I don't know how, I'm not really sure how you're gonna do this appraisal. But it would seem to me that they're gonna have to figure out what the finished value of the lot is. That might be one approach, and then they subtract out what the cost of the road is. I don't know. So if they do that, because I think that might be a logical one thing that has to be considered, because in this particular instance, it's the unimproved value. So the cost of the improvements affect the value, I think, that the town gets. If it was an improved lot, then it wouldn't, because somebody else is paying for the improvements. So that lot is sort of in the middle of that phase. And
You just wanna make sure that that's,
I just wanted to make sure
This one's
that
from you to
I didn't
format.
want to have any, you know, hopefully we're not going to get into what I would consider to be certain discussions like, well, that lot's only in 400 feet, so therefore, you know, we don't pay, you know, that phase has 18 lots in it. As far as road costs, I don't know. You could take the phase and say, cost of the improvements divided by 18, and everybody shares equally. So that was one consideration, that I put it like halfway in the road, where the road is, because I didn't want to have to deal with a discussion about, well, ours only goes in 400 feet, and, you know, so I think it's about halfway in.
so, are we
And
still,
then the lot has a significant amount of frontage.
okay, so are we still in the plan where we're gonna do our appraisal and you guys are gonna do yours and, or we're gonna do ours?
You're gonna do yours, hopefully we're gonna agree.
Okay,
I did float an idea with Erica, which I don't know if she shared it with you yet.
I do not, no.
Okay. Just to, in case we don't agree, I suggested to Erica that if the town wants to pick a broker, a real estate broker, put the lot on the market, we can see what somebody's willing to pay for it. And, if it's above 140, I'll take it.
Doesn't mean you'll take it.
I would sell it.
Okay. And we get the money?
Well, you're gonna get the money anyway.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with you getting the money.
Yeah.
I'm saying as far as trying to figure out what something is worth, it's what somebody's willing to pay you for it. When we do this appraisal, it's gonna be the appraiser's estimate, right, of what he thinks somebody would pay you for it. Ultimately, the value is what somebody would pay you for it, I think. That's what the purpose of having an appraisal is. So if you want, you could choose a local broker or any broker, real estate broker you want, we could put the lot on the market. I'm just saying,
Yeah, it'd be better if we just get it appraised and get the money, probably be faster for everybody, okay?
if we can agree on the value,
Yeah. We'll agree, right?
We'll see what the numbers look
Yeah.
like, so.
I mean, I can only, it's, I don't know.
So-
I hope we do.
So we can kick off,
Yeah,
We
then
have
I
an
have a
appraisal?
lot number,
Yeah.
Yeah.
engage the appraiser
Take a
that
week or
the
two.
board
should
Locked
maybe
in.
be done by our next meeting?
It depends on her schedule. I mean, that
Yeah.
was months ago that I contacted her,
Yeah.
so, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Because we were saying, we said at the last meeting that, so you weren't here, but we gave certificates of occupancy for four, I think? Three. And we said
Nice,
that,
appreciate it, thank you.
yeah. We got the 60,000?
We did, we got
Yeah.
the 65.
And we
So-
have it until March 1st to
Right.
pay the 80 or
Yeah.
March.
So we want to get it done by then?
Yeah. Well, that's irrespective, you're gonna have the 140,
Okay.
even if hopefully we are gonna agree on a value, but,
Good. Sounds like we're all in agreement then.
yeah.
Is there anything else on that?
So what are your plans for the other two affordable then? I mean, you're kind of dodging the improvement bullet by picking one in, is it phase one? That hasn't,
What do you mean dodging the bullet?
well, you're dodging the, what's the improved value argument.
Oh, no, it's gonna be easy for the appraiser
Right,
to figure out the approved value.
right. You're saying we have two more of these coming up, so
Right. But what bullet am I dodging? That's what I didn't understand.
coming to an agreement on how to back out the cost of the improvements to make it an unimproved value.
On the other two lots.
On the other two
Now
lots.
I know how we're gonna do it, because by the time we get to those other two lots, we will have the road in front of all lots, so there won't be an unimproved lot for them to appraise.
Oh, it's always, what is the value? If I have the option of deeding a lot to the town.
Yep.
The lot could be unimproved when I deed it to you.
Mm-hmm,
The problem is, from my perspective, is eventually every lot's gonna be improved.
right.
So if I deed you an unimproved one, I'm really giving you an improved one, because you can't really get a road. You know,
Eventually the road will be
Yeah.
built.
eventually the road services all the lots.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it makes more money for me to give you the money.
Right, and that's fine. But on this one, we have an unimproved lot, and we're gonna appraise that as it stands. So we're kind of dodging the bullet of how do we
I think,
how do we value the improvement for the other two lots?
I think that whether the road's there or not, it's the same.
The appraiser in the future will have to figure out.
Appraiser's gonna do the same thing later, even though the road's there. He's still gonna say, well, improve the thing. I don't know how he's gonna do it. But, I mean, maybe he's gonna come up with comparables for lots. And maybe he'll find some sales of lots that sold in a subdivision that were not improved. I don't think that's very likely, at least that many. Because generally speaking, as you know, when you get a subdivision approved, there's a covenant, and it prohibits doing that.
Yeah.
So, I think he's gonna have to take the approach, you can't sell like one unimproved lot, just by the covenant, the state form of covenant, right? So, finding a, so in any event,
Good.
It sounds like we'll cross that bridge when we get to those.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah, because we just don't want to be put in a position in
I
March.
think we've got, well, you'll have your money,
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll be in agreement, and if we're not,
yeah,
we won't be in agreement, but you'll still have the money,
okay,
right?
yeah,
So we'll just have to work it out.
okay, well, that's good.
We all want to work.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure,
I don't
yeah,
know, you know, just.
yeah, for sure. So review a request to release lot 34 on Old Stone. So any more lot releases were going to be contingent on this list of items, so I guess we get an update on those.
What was, I'm sorry, what was the lot?
73.
Lot 73 is the one, okay.
Do you want to go through the list, Brad, or?
We can go through all, they've been done, there's only a couple of things that you're gonna wait till the spring of 2017, this spring. The main one being the cleaning of detention basin 9C, because it's all iced over right now.
It's not moving now, it's frozen, so.
Right, it's not gonna be detrimental in that case. And the other major one was the inspections of the oil and gas traps in the catch basins. And way back, I saw them on the ground next to the catch basins, then they got installed, but then the silt sacks were put back in place, and we never got a coordination of inspecting them when they were changing the silt sacks. Now the silt sacks have silt in them, some silt, and they freeze up and they balloon in a sense, bigger than the opening to take it out, so they can't be taken out this winter without ripping them all apart.
Spring.
Spring, you're right,
Right,
until
if we
spring.
take them out, the bags will rip and all this stuff will
They sort of,
go over
Yeah.
again more.
So-
Didn't want to take them out before the winter conditions?
no, because of sand.
We
The
get
sand,
sand,
too much
mud.
sand, okay.
So
alright.
realistically, I mean, they were on the ground next to the catch basins way back, they're not there anymore. The easy thing to do was to put them in right then and there.
Now I
so-
don't want to take those, so.
You saw them putting some of them in, and you asked them to mortar around the edges of a couple of.
No, I never, no, I didn't see
The
any.
cul-de-sac?
No, I saw that when they were doing,
Oh, the inverts?
Yeah. So, they perform, the oil and gas traps perform at least half, maybe more of the functions that the silt sacks. So in a sense, they still have precaution, mitigation in the catch basins through the winter time. But if I had to, someone said, here's, take all your money and bet whether they're in or not, I would say they're in. But I can't officially say it.
That's right.
So,
Everything else, all the hay bales, the jute mesh,
Yeah, was
the
that-
erosion control.
Residual stuff was installed, okay.
as of today, everything's in on that email, that first page you have, Eric, and then
yeah.
under my items, 2 through 8 in the reports.
So yeah, you said complete, so 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 9. 2.
Everything back from the fire department.
Not yet, no.
Avenue. Haven't heard that. But I wasn't in the office very much.
So 9's all set, the approved plan for wall at fire sister.
It's been sent. We have not heard back from the fire department.
Eric is,
My email as
would
well.
we
and I
control?
should-
The wall, instead of valid post at the cistern, it's something over to the fire department, but I haven't heard anything back approving it yet.
What kind of wall?
4-foot high stone wall, brick wall with a 4-foot gap with a fill pipe.
Something more attractive than ballot posts.
Since it's right in the front yard, yeah.
Yeah.
So you said all of these items that were listed here have all been done?
Yep.
Okay.
And what about the cleanliness of the road? Have they been sweeping
They're
when you were
sleeping
out
today,
there? Okay.
again. Hopefully good with the reinstalled construction entrances at the driveways that are, there are driveways for house lots right now that hopefully will mitigate the amount going onto the road, but they were sweeping today.
And they're all extended to the minimum of 50.
Right.
Tough time of year.
Yeah, this whole freeze-thaw thing is,
It's actually, I mean, if you just get dirty at the end of the cul-de-sac there, I mean, especially dirty in that area. Hopefully the riprap will help, but there's so many houses being built right on that cul-de-sac, and people drive on it, you know, off the road onto the lot. It's because we're building on lot 33, about to start 34. We have a buyer who's going to build his own house, so 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. That's 3/4 of the way around the cul-de-sac. And then 43, 44. I mean, there's only probably out of the whole cul-de-sac 75 feet that we actually don't have something under construction right there.
what's your plans for during winter? Like, what are your are you guys gonna, I mean,
Well, we're not
you
doing,
can't do too much.
house building you can do.
No, I mean, like, site-wise.
Site-wise,
Are you guys done?
we put in our last
Foundation home.
foundations this week. We have to get it, had to, because they were sold.
Yeah.
So now, footings, one of the foundations is actually all completely poured, and one has a footing in, so it's gonna be poured tomorrow. And then there'll be some utility work that needs to get done to the houses, running the water lines from the street, which is a trench, running an electric line from
Are you guys still gonna be doing that, no?
Yeah,
Ground frozen?
yeah. Dig
This is
through.
all outside the right of way too.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with building
Oh,
roads.
okay.
Just so you know, it's- they've
These are
extended,
just strictly work, we're really not doing any work on any road work.
Okay.
they've
We
extended
didn't
the
do
property
much,
line.
other than, well, we did
It's been a while since.
we did those swales, which wasn't road work, it was more grading,
Behind the lots.
but we did a lot, that was, you know, a significant amount of work that got done this past summer, but we haven't really done much on the road other than that.
Other than the
Really even
roadways.
related to the road. So,
Okay, so then last meeting, we were gonna release 25, 37, and 42. Is that what we ended up?
Based on the site
Contingent on all
plan
these
being
things.
completed. Right.
So we're good on that then?
So it sounds like at this point, the only thing I need to do is check with conservation because your approval is also contingent upon conservation signing off. So I just need to check with Rebecca and then I can give the forms to.
we're about 34.
We need to get 34.
We had a buyer that
Well, I was just talking about last,
Oh,
Last
okay,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We have a buyer that wants to close on a lot for 34 or something.
yeah, okay, so I guess there's no, so for this list, there's no reason not to do 34, but there's still a fine.
So the only outstanding items that I can see is there's the noise violation from October, which is $300. You need to pay that.
You're gonna
I think
take
that was
that out
gonna
of
get
the-
captured in your last lot release approval, but it didn't. We talked about
It
it.
didn't get said, it was talked
Yeah.
about in the meeting.
And then the other thing is, I'm just running low on funds for Fred Hamway's construction oversight. So if we can get another $2,000.
And we have close to 6 coming back to us,
You
right?
do, and that list I think is now completed as well, so I can
Yes.
release the 6 or keep 2 and give you 4. We can talk about that, but, so,
Yeah. Maybe
and then it,
Sooner the better, we could use the money.
next week.
So keep the 2 and the 300 for the fine?
Yeah.
That-
I would
we
still
talked
like it
about the fine.
captured in your approval though, so that we, or your motion, so that we can,
So
we definitely
you
can.
said $2,000, isn't it?
Yeah, that should be fine through the winter.
We have no,
Not a lot of activity
no,
going
we're
on
not
through the
doing
winter.
any
State work.
road work.
Not really, no.
concerns about reducing lot 34, let me take a motion. With those contingencies? Unless you have something.
Yeah, no, I
Anybody?
mean, the big thing is we got the affordable lot, so that can get moving forward.
Yeah.
So let's see here, let me try this here. So I move that we release lot 34 on Old Stone Circle contingent upon, let's see, where can I put on the list here? Approval from conservation on the
Previous
previous, I think it was,
items.
from the previous items, contingent on the noise violation being settled.
Paid or, yeah.
Settled regarding, and $2,000 for, deposited to cover engineering. Is that everything?
I think so.
I need to vote on taking that out of the.
At this point, though, the town owes us money. Not
Well, that's why he said, just
Yeah.
get it settled.
Yeah, that's why I said settled.
Okay.
I mean, if it's.
But does that
if it's-
mean, if the town's not ready to write the check to us for a week and a half, that I can't have the lot release until then? Because actually, the guy on 34 wants to close tomorrow. He wanted to close a week and a half ago.
It all depends on, I mean, there are three contingencies there, and once they're settled, then.
I mean, if Erica thinks it's settled, if she has the money in the account.
No, but the money's coming from,
No, we understand.
It's fine, because we have the money, I have the money, it's a matter of just
Yeah.
transferring
Yeah.
it to the right account.
We're just trying to get it on record.
yeah, I mean,
I
you're
just
you're
want
gonna
it
hold
so
the
that
money,
we
not
have
give
it.
it to us.
Contingency on the
Right.
pond.
Right, exactly.
There's
There's
an item.
Yeah, we had talked about last time that all of these erosion sediment control items needed to have approval from the
In-
Concom as well.
Yeah,
That's for the previous.
here on the previous item
Not a
7,
lot to pay those.
No, I understand.
7 deposit in the wetland crossing on Old
So
Stone
it's not just for season runs to the site, it's for all of the erosion sediment control issues. They have an order.
I'll check with Rebecca
So
tomorrow.
I was trying to make sure that they
Whenever
still
you
have,
need the
they are in agreement with
Because Dave
us.
is.
We don't want to release lots and have
Find out
them come
if he'll
back
be
and say, well, we have
tomorrow.
issues
Sign
that,
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of thing, so. So are we happy with the?
Yeah, I can second
I
that.
think the way you worded
For
it.
lot
Okay.
34.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous?
Why don't you have the board sign tonight,
Mm, that's
all
good.
of the members, and then if for some reason I can't get Dave to sign by the time you need it, and then maybe we can work with that.
Okay.
Why don't we try that for now, and then that way
For
that'll
some
be.
reason, my copy's printed out front and back.
All right, I'll do it later on, I'll have the board
Okay.
sign, I'll print it.
That's great. Thank you.
Anything else?
Question. If I had an idea on something that I thought would improve the development, and that the people that live there would like better, and the abutters, and it would be good for the town, would you be?
Why am I nervous?
It sounds all positive.
Yes, this sounds great. Say no more.
Would you want to hear of something about it?
Yeah.
And would you want to do it tonight, or is it too late, and we do talk about it another time?
Let's
Sure.
be quick.
I don't know, make them wait, their interest is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends if it's an hour-long discussion.
The topography of the development is very nice, except it gets extreme when you get, if you're heading north on the road that we're gonna build. When you get towards Century Mill Road, our land is 35 feet higher than Century Mill Road.
You guys started last time already or no?
And we stripped the loam because I wanted to know where the ledge was, because Bolton's tricky. A lot of times it can be big rocks, but if you work at it with a machine, you can pull it out. It's not. You can just go up there and look. So it's all ledge.
Where, can you just tell me?
Yeah.
I was just trying to, it's easier sometimes to visualize. Over there, okay.
Yeah, so Century Mill Road,
Yep,
and then right here, there's a 35-foot difference,
Okay, okay,
straight
okay.
up ledge,
Okay.
almost straight up.
So you want to tunnel it instead of blasting it out?
The plans call for us because we knew it was there. So the approved plans call for like a square U cut right through the ledge, and because the road has to go up very gradually.
Yeah, you
called
can't
a-
get too steep
It's called when you're going out, a leveling area.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So if you're coming down the
Yeah,
hill
you have
road
like
to an
20 feet,
intersection,
20 feet
it
of-
has to be
That's-
pretty gradual.
Yeah.
So that's going to cause a very large disturbance to accomplish that. Not necessarily like disturbance of any damage or anything to anybody, it's just
It's a lot of
you're
earth.
blowing stuff up and I caught myself. You're blowing stuff up.
It's SH.
And, that's never comfortable for anybody, and, but it's, I mean, it's something that gets done all the time. In my opinion, it would be better if we built the road as planned, where Mill Pond Road currently ends, and extend it all the way through, go over the crossing, just as it was planned. But when you get to,
So it's here now.
the Century Mill area,
Yep.
and stop it there, put a cul-de-sac in, and come off of Century Mill Road with common driveways. And you would not have to blow everything up.
So how would you do the common driveways?
The issue that you're going to end up coming to is that it's a dead-end street.
And then one off of the street.
It would be a dead-end street.
So you have three, and that would
But-
capture all the lots.
The major issue with
is that a
dead-end
safety
streets
concern?
is emergency vehicle access.
I have to look into it, I don't.
And it would still have emergency vehicle access.
Because there are maximum common driveway.
Yeah, there is
Yeah,
500 feet.
yeah.
No, length for common driveway?
Yeah, is there either maximum
I don't
length
know
or a
about that.
maximum number
There's
of
a maximum
occupants?
length for the driveways that go
Oh,
on
is
the
it five?
common.
5 per.
There's 5 per on the.
Is there a
side.
maximum
Yeah.
length for the driveway?
Yeah, I think it's 800 feet.
I think that's for the individual driveways
I
that
can't
come off
remember.
the
It's
common.
gotta be, did they
Kinda
change
long
that?
and
Because I was
then
like,
you
my
wait.
driveway's longer than that.
Yeah, yours is very,
It's a half a mile.
it
Yeah.
might be 1,000. I can't remember.
1,000 sounds familiar.
But we don't need that.
But you do, there's 3 of them.
So
Two off Century
you're
Road
saying-
and one off of where the road ends.
on either,
I'm saying,
on either side, it's lower on either side, so you'd rather,
Century Mill Road
You could come
is
up like that.
35 feet.
So you can have.
what's the
you can have
height
one
here and here where you're talking
One
about though?
here.
Yeah.
Well,
With
with a driveway, you could traverse it and come around. With a road, you could have a leveling area and,
So it'd be one common driveway or two? you said?
3.
3 total.
no, two.
Well, no.
Well,
where
2
this
off of
road
Century
ends.
Two
Mill
off
and
Century
then,
Mill.
Oh, you were talking about?
2 of them could service up to 10 lots, is that right?
Yes, you get up to 5.
Or 4, or whatever you want it to be, but I think there is something in the regs for 5 each.
It doesn't seem like, it seems like there's a gap there.
I don't know if you've got a lot more than 10
You'd have
lots
to
now.
bring this
This-
road partway into the phase like right here.
Yeah, no, we would
You build all of this,
build all of this, but when you get down in this area, that's where the drop goes down. And because you need a level, it's not so much that there's a big problem with ledge. It's that because of that leveling area you need, it goes for a long distance. There's gonna be a lot of earth,
I mean,
blast blowing up, a lot of blasting. I don't know if it's necessary, because if you did, like I said, if you did a couple common driveways off of there, you could,
The issues that have to be looked at is a number of them. One is the frontages, you have frontages for the other lots to still get back your 10
Right.
lots, whatever you're looking for, because you're gonna, you're not
well,
gonna
we'd have
have
to,
frontage.
we'd have to have enough frontage.
And secondly is,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, let's say it's 10 lots. They all now have access off of Century Mill for emergency vehicles, right?
That's not what I'm proposing, actually. What I'm proposing is you build some of the road as it was supposed to be. So some of the lots are gonna have frontage on the same road they were
Mill
gonna
Pond,
have
Mill
on.
Pond.
And then some of them will have their frontage on Century
Can you do
Mill.
that?
What
10 of
happens
them
is
would
this
have
though,
one.
Can you have the frontage on one road and access on another?
No, the ones that
They
run
have
down
access
Century
from
Mill
the
would-
same road they have their frontage on.
Oh, the common driveway would come from,
Century
I
Mill.
think so. I mean, I haven't really thought this, I'm just
the other thing is,
It's kind of
floating this because I think.
so there would be no access to Century Mill, is what you're saying?
from a
there would be-
road
There'd
standpoint,
be two driveways.
it'd be driveway,
Two
yeah.
driveways?
Two common driveways.
Two common driveways,
Two
but the
common.
frontage would be on Century Mill.
For those
Correct,
lots.
yes,
Yeah.
for
I
10
haven't really
lots.
thought about that
Yeah.
issue.
So it was 200, well, then you'd have to deal with backland lots, you'd have to reconfigure.
I'm not sure.
You'd have
I
to
don't-
configure for the front.
Maybe
get
you would,
frontage.
I don't know.
You're gonna have
Because
to.
some of those would be backland lots, and they would need to be 4 acres, right?
Oh, 4.5.
4.5.
And actually, all of them,
Doesn't, that's not.
you'd have one that's on Century Mill and 4 of them are gonna be backland lots.
Right, I don't know,
I'm just saying that, I don't know all the details. 'cause
Yeah.
I
there'd have to be some type of
But if-
special deal.
if- if it
It wouldn't fit in our current common driveway.
If it could be done, you would eliminate a lot of,
I mean, I would be open to looking at a plan to see, I mean, if you
Yeah, I
had
mean,
someone do a plan and.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're hostile to it, but I think there's enough open
Just,
issues that
yeah.
we need to,
then I said it would also be a benefit to the town. That besides the aesthetic, that you would more or less, the topography that's there would sort of remain much more than it would be if we put the road in. Your lot would go up in, all three of your lots would go up in value,
What's that?
Why they go, yeah, why they
because
go,
the road cost would go down. So Fred and I were talking about it, and it's possible, like, if you divide, your town's got, I owe the town, how many lots? Three. In that phase, there's 18. So 3 divided by 18 is 16%. Your lots represent 16% of the lots in that phase. So if you saved $100,000 on the road, your lots go up $16,000. You save $200,000, you go up $32,000. I'm just saying, the same way, when you have an expensive road, it affects value. If you
Yeah,
decrease
although some
the
people
cost on the
prefer-
road, it affects value.
yeah,
some
but
people
some,
don't
like
common
the
drive
services.
versus the road. And I don't think the intention was that all of our lots were coming out of that phase, though.
If you live on a common driveway, there's some type of a
Well, it's,
condo,
Yeah.
not condo fee, some type of group fee.
Maintenance
to-
fee, sort of,
Maintenance
yeah.
fee?
No,
You-
That's up to the owner.
That's
yeah,
shared
it's up to these.
No, you do,
It's
you
just
have,
agreement,
you have to have a
but-
covenant.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a shared maintenance agreement or something like
Yeah.
this.
That's in our bylaws.
I think that
So that would decrease the value. If you had some type of shared maintenance fee that you had.
no,
If it's not a public road that they're on.
no, the lot values are not affected if they're on a common driveway. I have many our most expensive house that we're selling in our development is on a common driveway.
Shared.
Shared driveway, it's shared by 2, still common, shared,
Oh, common is 3 or more?
just a word difference.
So you're saying that you can climb the height easier on these sides? Or you can do
Yeah.
it differently?
They do it differently.
They don't have to follow that same
Level.
same
line.
Your same, yeah.
It's not just the leveling area, it's the 10% max grade or 12, whatever,
Right.
that, but you're up here and you're going it, you just don't catch it until you, when it starts to drop back down.
Yeah.
I mean, it clearly wouldn't fit our standard common
It
driveway.
might, it might.
Well, because you're dealing with backland lots and stuff. These are
Why-
1 acre
why-
lots.
why-
They may,
You
why
have
do you
to look
think,
at it,
they
yeah.
may not be backland lots, because we only need 85 feet of frontage. I believe that's what it is when you have a,
200 feet for,
Well, no, for phosphorus, it's reduced, I believe it's 25.
oh, maybe 25 feet.
It is 25.
25 feet of frontage you need for a phosphid.
okay.
So, you know,
Is there a lot size though? Oh.
and we're not talking
I
about
see what you're
eliminating the
saying.
It
entire
ended up
road.
being an A&R plan.
It's that,
Redesign.
what's driving the way that whole road is
Yeah.
designed
Yeah.
is that 35-foot
No,
difference
I mean,
in height.
elevation.
yeah, definitely from neighbors, I've heard, that's the major complaint, is all the blasting and major landscaping.
The only thing I would just point out there, and mainly because I live on a common driveway that has a very steep portion to it, and it can be very difficult. So, I mean, that's just something to consider. I mean, yes, it's a pain to, you know, put in this road with a gentler slope, but if you're putting in two common driveways that have really steep slopes.
Isn't there a maximum
Yeah.
requirement is 10%?
Oh, it is 10 or 12, but it just, you can also wind it.
Right.
Yes, you can.
The one
You do have a little,
thing,
yeah.
before you, just as a caution, you should talk with the fire department. The biggest
Yeah.
concern I see is.
That's what I was
you'll have the
I
dead
kept trying to
end,
say that,
Yeah.
and you have the dead end from Cider Circle.
yes.
Well, that's what I was asking,
Oh, you know, you really have it the whole way.
So
So
you-
you can't get to, if something's blocking that Mill Pond Road.
That's not what I'm proposing. What I am proposing is that these two common driveways that come up will connect
Oh,
to
to
the
the
road.
cul-de-sac.
So
To
the
cul-de-sac.
emergency access issue,
Okay.
I would still, if I was the fire department,
Yeah, but then again, you don't have, you know, Harold's not going out there and plowing the common driveway section,
No,
so.
it's not.
I'd say put a proposal
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
But before you would do any plans, I would say you'd want to talk to the fire department. And, because if they say no right off.
I think before I do much of anything, I'd probably want to get like an idea from you guys, because assuming you can work out all of the nitty
Yeah.
gritty stuff that needs to get
I
worked
think
out.
Erica would need to go look at all, like, specific, not specifics, but maybe like, you know, if we're talking about this road's gonna be a dead end, is there some type of max number of houses on a dead end or length?
Don't forget, I mean, we have a 1,900-foot dead end, more than we have a 1,900-foot dead end street in the development.
Yeah.
That was approved.
I think, like Mark said, you know, we're open to it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think
But there's
it
a
would be
lot of,
better
there's a lot of details that
If
need
it
to be looked at.
doesn't,
Yeah.
it was really just something I thought of tonight, actually, when we were sitting having a drink.
I would have no problem with something being shown in front of us
Right.
that met our regulations. I would be open to that.
Good, thank you very much for your time. Anything else?
No, just back to the motion for the release of lot 34. Did someone second that?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Anybody see all clear?
I think we did, yeah, we already did. We did vote.
Alrighty.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
have a good evening.
You look great.
Thank you, Fred.
That was scary. I got something to say, you guys. All right. You done?
Yeah, thank you, Fran.
Well, take care, everyone. Good night.
You too.
All right, so inclusionary housing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I asked Doug Story to come to
Yeah.
Good.
help chime in on this.
Yeah. We actually did work on his house.
So,
In Leominster?
Yeah.
oh,
Renovated his kitchen.
a couple of things on
Yeah.
the formula and so I think all of this collapses down
It's a nice little
to,
place.
you know, being the engineer, I want one simple formula here. And it's basically, so as it's set now, it's a third of the value, and I'll come back to value in a second, times the number of affordable units divided by the total units. Just,
This is a spreadsheet.
just checking my numbers, yeah.
All right, you guys.
Okay, yes, okay. Yeah, so ignore the last two, sorry, Joanne. So ignore the last two columns for a second here. Okay, so basically, you know, when you get down to 8 units is when the affordable kicks in. And from 8 to 15, we have one affordable unit, 16 to 23, we have 2, you know, 24 down, we get, 3 and so on. So if we go by what I just said, 0 through 7, there's no, there's nothing applicable. When you get to 8, then basically, if it's an 8-unit subdivision, then it would be a 4.17% affordable fee over on all 8 units. And that comes out to the 33% that we're
Okay.
looking for.
Mhm.
If you have let's say an 11 unit development, then it's basically the fee is 3.03%. And that still gives us the 33%.
And this is using, what is it, a third times the,
A third times, so it's a third times the number of affordable units
Yep.
times the value. And right now, I'm just
Yeah,
factoring
that's right.
value out.
yeah,
Time over the total number of units.
okay,
So if you get down to,
Yeah.
25 unit subdivision, we have 3 affordable units, and each one would be a 4% affordable fee. And basically then checking my numbers, 4% times 25 basically comes out to 99.99,
Yeah.
which is the same as the 3.
okay,
So far, so my creative math so far makes sense?
yep,
Okay, so that I think is what, so basically, the formula, I think is just missing, times the number of affordable units, which they tried to capture in B, but I think it's very convoluted in the way they worded it.
It seems like you're making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Well, because the problem is, it's not really total units. Total units in the formula means units in the group, not the total.
Okay, so if you read that, so from that perspective, when I go to, so you're saying when the unit 8 would be
The total, like in the first formula, like
Yeah.
in this one, the
Yeah.
total units would be 8. It wouldn't be
would be, well,
27 or whatever. Right?
so then if you have a 9-unit subdivision, then the total units in that second group would be 1, so they'd be paying the full cost of the affordable unit.
I mean, I guess.
I thought the intention was kind of, figure out what that number should be for the subdivision, and then everybody's paying
So,
that amount.
remember, so it's, you're not paying anything, 0 to 8.
0 to 7.
0 to
7. Because
Right,
because
exactly.
affordable doesn't kick in until 8.
Right.
But, so the way to think about it is when you get to that 8th unit, really those first 7 are, should be contributing to the
Right, so that's,
cost of the.
that's what we were saying, we would do it per unit, so it doesn't
Yeah.
come up to the end. So that's
Right.
why if you had 9, you just,
So,
then that number would be 9, that total units
Yeah.
number would be 9.
right. And if you have 17, so you're now into 2 affordable units.
You know?
So I'm not sure in subsection B here, what's the number of units that is being applied to? Is that being applied?
So when you get to the second group, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, then,
Whatever houses are left from, in the total units minus what you've already collected.
I see, the issue,
Okay.
the issue doesn't come with the first one, the issue
Comes with the second, third, fourth, and so on, yeah.
because, so between 8 and 15, our math works fine,
Right.
because you pay a unit, but if you have 16,
Right, when you get to, when you do unit 16,
Yeah.
then it's now basically.
all by itself.
It's it's all by itself in that, basically funding that second affordable unit. So a third of the price of unit 16 would be,
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, and it would be 1 unit, so that whole, you have to pay the whole, but that's how it works now anyway. Right? Just with $200, $200,000.
right, although the builder has probably, amortized that over the, basically over units, 9 through 15.
So why can't we just use the total number in the development? Why does it have to be grouped?
What's I'm trying to get away from? I mean, it's if you use the total number of units, somewhere you need to factor in the number of affordable which is what I'm doing. Yeah. The total number of affordable,
But, well, I mean, your affordable units for 1 through 7 really aren't 0. It's really 1, right? Because this math only kicks in when you have 8 or
When you
more.
have 8 or more,
So
yeah.
we're not even looking at this for
0 through
0 through
7.
7. It doesn't even apply.
Yeah, 1 through
Right,
7,
so
yeah.
that number is really 1 for all these. And when you get to 8 through 15, the number is really 2.
Unit number is really 2.
Why is it 2?
Right.
Well, what are the,
Well, no,
how many, if you have 0 through 8,
that's true,
it's
yeah,
1.
you're right.
If you have,
Well, I guess it depends
No.
on what the total number is, though.
Yeah,
'Cause if
well,
it's only 15, then it's.
No, 8 through 15 is 1 unit.
8 through 15 is 1 unit.
Yeah.
Okay. So everything up to 15 is 1 unit.
This is like,
Well, no.
can we make this simpler?
Seven
We're trying to make it
seven
simple,
below,
it's
seven below doesn't qualify, doesn't.
Agreed,
trigger,
but,
so-
but when we're collecting this fee from them,
Yeah.
we know because it's an 8-unit
When we
subdivision, that
approve-
they owe us money on each of those first 7.
Right,
Based on this formula.
right, so the question, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, you could take the total number of, so if there's gonna be 2 payments in lieu of, you can divide that out through all of the units.
Which is effectively what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
It's the number of payments in lieu of, you know, it's the, so it's our 33% times the
Yeah.
number of affordable units.
66%.
Well, yeah, well, that's if you've got, you know, if you've got 2 affordables, then
Yeah,
that's equivalent to, you know,
yeah.
and 3 would be 90.
So
you know.
so if you had 17, you're
Yeah.
saying everybody pays 3.92%.
Yeah.
And
And
that makes it,
And when all
I got
7,
you.
you pay that into that, that's a 66.
Okay, I got your saying. I got it now.
so that, when you're paying that 3.92%,
That's on units 1 through 17.
Yeah.
1 through
The same
7.
rate for
Everybody pays, yeah,
Everybody pays the same versus if
right.
you were to not do it that way, and you had 17 after 15, 2 lots would be paying
The whole 33.
the whole 33%.
Right, well, and this was also to get around the selling off some lots, so somebody else now is inheriting, you know, I mean, the whole thing of, you know, when CME sold off some lots, you know, do we hold them liable for, you know,
Yeah.
for the
That's
affordables,
good.
and how does that whole thing?
I understand what you're
The
saying.
whole goal of
So
this
at
change
the
was to just
beginning-
make it, yeah, when we approve a 17 lot subdivision,
This is the percentage.
this is the percentage that we put into,
Okay,
I gotcha.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So-
goal?
well, so there's a couple of, so, get you guys money.
Well, do you,
So.
The fee in lieu of right now is just
Yeah,
200,000.
instead of the flat 200,000, which may or may not be
And
realistic.
so we said that a better price would be a third of the sales price of the average county unit. Because if it's a $600,000 average development, you get 200,000. But if it's like $1 million development, you end up at $333,000.
What happens if it's a condo
Yeah.
development and they're all 300,000? Then you're only getting 100,000.
Yeah.
From each of the, well, and presumably that's
There'll be
more
many
beds, yeah.
Yeah.
so you'd have more affordable
More-
units.
more
More
payments.
affordable, yeah, you have more affordable units,
Mhm.
presumably.
Yeah, so if you have 100 units, you end up with how many payments in lieu of whatever it is. It's like every 8, right?
Mhm.
but it's also to make it so that they pay a small amount with each certificate of occupancy, right? Where we don't have the issues that we've
Yeah.
been having for the
So
last.
at our last meeting, pretty much it was put on us that, oh, somebody's waiting for a certificate of occupancy, you know, so we kind of had to you know, it became on our head that they waited to the last minute,
Even though
So-
it's been 7 years.
even though it's been 7 years, so.
Well,
We were trying-
it was also, there was somebody who had bought some units in CME that was looking for occupancy and didn't know anything about the affordable and,
Which
you
is
know,
hard to believe, but, yeah.
But, well, regardless of any of that,
Yeah.
you know, so this just makes it, and this would just be part of, you know, part of what, you know, part of the order of conditions then would
Well, I
just be, or part of the special permit would just be this, and,
Not, like,
Yeah.
looking at all this math, do you agree that, we were trying to make it, just a flat fee of $200,000 didn't make sense to us. We were trying to make it more
Well,
Market related.
Market related?
so one of the issues that came up on, what's the one off Sugar?
Houghton Farm.
Houghton Farm, where the land values are a lot low, are somewhat lower. The 200,000 was, well above what their lot values
Yeah.
were.
But it's not lot values,
Or,
it's
well,
units.
or the unit values.
Yeah.
But even if you said it was the,
No, did his not apply to the 200,000 thing?
No, it does.
It does apply.
does, yeah.
And it's still.
He was trying to see if he could get a
The
lower
lot
number,
equivalent,
but
Yeah.
The lot, not a unit.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that third of the sales price number, or no?
No?
You just think it should be 200,000?
So I don't know the answer, and I haven't done any of the research you
Okay.
guys have been doing the last 6 months or whatever.
I mean, we were looking at all the different towns, and every town does it differently, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, we passed this bylaw in 2003.
Mhm.
So 13, 14 years ago, we got one unit in all those years. That's the one at Houghton. The 3/8 Century Mill, they filed before that. So that was
They have their own agreement.
that was part of the subdivision agreement, but they agreed to give us 3 units, but it really wasn't under this bylaw.
Right.
If they had been under this bylaw, they would have had to given us 78, whatever
Yeah,
it is, 10
7 or
or
8 units,
10 or
yeah.
11, right? And I don't think they would have done the subdivision. So this is what everybody was doing in the early 2000s. I mean, we modeled it after Sudbury, Lincoln, Concord, and I don't know who else, but, a whole bunch of towns in this area were doing this. And a lot of 40Bs coming in, and Bolton had like 5, before us at one point in time. So it was, how do we make sure that if we're gonna have all this, and of course, real estate is going crazy, if we're gonna have all this development, that we make sure that we meet the state guideline for the 25%.
Right.
40B requires them to do it, but then we said, well, what about other subdivisions, so this is the way to make everybody do it,
Right.
theoretically. Using Bolton as an example, didn't work in Bolton. I mean, if the goal was to produce affordable housing, it didn't work, because it didn't produce any. It produced 1 unit in 14 years. And I don't see anybody, do you guys have any other subdivisions before you?
Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it did was effectively stop development. And maybe that was not bad
So you
side.
think the inclusionary housing stopped development?
I think a lot of things did. I mean, the real estate market
Well, yeah.
crashing.
Yeah.
was
2000
the biggest
was-
thing. But this is a pretty big block.
Okay.
Because the way it's written and the way it is implemented, it's more than a developer can afford. I mean, maybe in 2003, people could because prices were just going through the roof and they kept going up, 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 up. But as we all know, that ends. And it did, and it's not that way anymore. So it is an effective block. So if the goal is to block development, this works.
Residential development,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then if anybody wants to, they've got to figure out a way to provide for what this requires.
Yeah.
To go to all that machination, to come up with a different way to calculate the fees, just, I don't see that it's worth it, because I don't think you're going to get any more development.
Yeah.
Or is the goal to actually increase affordable housing?
Well, if it is, I don't think this is the way to do it. And
I mean, that's a really good question, is what is the intent?
when it was written, the goal was, if there's going to be development, it has to include affordable housing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It wasn't written, it wasn't, and the desire, at least in, my recollection, wasn't that we said, if we pass this, nobody will do any development.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to show you something. This is the plan, the affordable housing plan we wrote in 2003. And one of our goals was to create, the inclusionary bylaw, we passed it in 2003. Projected results will provide a minimum of 2 new affordable units per year.
That's been
And-
1 in 14?
And so that would be 28 units.
So there were no, that's including fees in lieu of?
Yeah,
Just one? What's the one?
And we had a lot, you know, we had accessory apartments, we had substandard lots, we had buy down units, we had big plans.
What is that one from Drumlin or something? Or Oak Trail? Where'd you get the one from?
No, the one is Houghton.
Oh, Hogan. Although we haven't actually
Gotten.
gone it yet.
So we had, in this plan, we were projecting if everything went according to our rosy plan, that by 2015, we'd have 234 affordable housing units. Well, we have 64.
That's what.
I think we might have 62 now. because
Where are
we
those-
lost
those-
two.
And I will tell you this, that we revised this
Regency?
plan in 2010, and we took all that out, because we said, it's not happening.
But was it based on the number of applications for permits you were seeing for subdivision permits? I mean, those just seem like high numbers, I mean.
Well,
there's only
two
so
per
much
year
space.
means 1,600, yeah, we were having more than 16 units developed in developments per year, definitely, at that point in time. There were a lot of, I mean, back then, there were, not counting 40Bs, there were another 5 or 6 subdivisions going
Yeah.
on. All of which, if they had been built under this bylaw, would have produced affordable
And they
units.
didn't.
So that was Oak Trail, Drumlin Farm.
Butternut.
Butternut.
Yeah,
And then, so that just stopped.
yeah.
Inclusionary seems to work in urban areas where you have a
Yeah,
high
it-
density.
That's right.
I think it's a lot harder for areas like Bolton where it's so rural and it's so expensive to build a single home. It's just a different animal.
So anyway, just to follow on, in 2010, we revised this chart, which we had previously said would have 234 units by 2015. And we eliminated all those units coming out of these bylaws because it wasn't happening. And we just kept with the projects pretty much in the pipeline, which have happened, you know, including Regency and Sunset Ridge and Bolton Manor. And we said we have 64 units, and that's what we have. So,
How many are coming out of, whatever it's called, on Sugar Road?
8.
8?
We'll have 8.
yeah, and in this, it was more than that, it was 11, so, you know, slight
But
change.
he reduced his number.
But, really, most of that affordable housing, we had Bolton Woods Way already, which was done years ago, the 28, and that's less than that now. We have 14, but it's less than that, because we've lost some units.
Yeah.
But everything else was that group of 4 40Bs that came in at around that time, that were built and have come to fruition, some which are just now being built, and they got us up to that 64, which is 3.7%, it's nowhere near 10.
Yeah.
We'll never get to 10, you know, unless, I mean, that's the reality, you know, in my mind today. Unless, you know, there was a change in mind in Bolton and somebody said, let's do a big development, high density, you know, condo or apartment that had a big number in it.
Yeah.
And I don't really see that happening either, but it could happen.
It happened to Boston.
But this bylaw is not gonna make it happen, and I don't mean to be the naysayer.
No, so
It's going to get different.
realistically, I mean, I think the reason we're looking at change, reason Stephen came up to changing was Houghton Farms saying, well, our lot values aren't anywhere near to the 200,000 that the bylaw says they are, so, how can we adjust that? And then in thinking about it, we have, and realistically, I mean, you have Houghton Farms, you have Crescent Village, you have, the Oaks, so you have a wide range of developments that have been done and a wide range of values. So, what we were looking at was kind of how do we tie, that, inclusionary fee to kind of the character of the development that's being done.
Well, and really trying to make.
And make sure that it's kind of, reflects what the market is for those, with those units.
If it's high, it's high, if it's low, it should be dropped.
Yeah.
So I think the 200,000 at the time was, and it was done in, like I said, all these other towns, we kind of just copied it. That number
Mhm.
was largely based on what the value of an affordable unit could be sold for, which in our market is now something like 160.
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah.
And it was probably higher than that back then because housing
The
values
real
were a little
estate.
bit higher.
Mhm.
So it was close to and a little bit higher than the value of the sales price of an affordable unit. And I think that is actually a good number. because then the concept of the sales price of an affordable unit in your region, and it varies by region, and we're one of the higher income regions, so that number's, one of the higher numbers. The idea is that if somebody's not gonna build one, they're gonna give you the amount of money that is equal to what somebody would have to pay for a housing unit. So it correlates to the value of the unit to the person buying it. The town theoretically owns a third of the value of the unit, and obviously, theoretically, the builder makes some money too, but they probably don't on affordable.
So you're saying it correlates just the generic cost of an affordable unit in Bolton and not to a specific affordable unit in the development?
That's right, that's right. Well, but what
Even
I'm
though-
saying is the cost to the affordable, the price that has been set for an affordable unit in our area, for what somebody would pay for it, okay? Which is way under what it costs to build it, no matter what it is. Although in an apartment building, they probably build it for less than that and make money on it, right? In a condo, a high density with maybe, 800 square foot condos or something like that, they might make a little money at that sales price.
You're not gonna.
Anything beyond that,
Yeah.
any single family home anywhere, right? I mean, pick whatever town you can think of that has the lowest price single family homes in Massachusetts. 280, maybe, right? I mean, high 200s, it's not gonna be 160. So once you go to homes, it's never worth it to them to build it. And they will always take, let me give you some money or give you land. Every time. I mean, they'll never build them. And the reality is, I mean.
Because they're losing money,
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
So, yeah, I think we agree with that, because we've seen the last.
So if we can get that money, that's great,
Yeah.
because we can put that money to good use, hopefully, for affordable housing.
Yeah.
But it's coming up with a number, so again, I ask, what is the goal? And I'm not trying to put my values on anyone else, and frankly, I've been all the way around with this thing to where I had, a lot of best intentions and expected that more would happen than has happened, and now I'm sort of here all these years later saying, the reality is, it's probably not gonna happen in a town like Bolton. So, I'm not trying to,
Yeah, no.
jump on whatever you've done by any means, but I just don't think it's worth it to go to that level of detail when the bottom line, I do think you should change it. I do think that 200,000 as a number is too, I don't know, irrational. How can you, what's, but it could be based on the value of the unit in our market that fluctuates. So it's not, you're not locked into that number 200.
When you say-
Or it could be that value plus 10% or something like that.
When you say the value of the unit, you're saying the affordable value?
Yeah, the sale
So
value.
the sale value of an affordable unit?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we would take in a third of the sales price of
A regular
non-affordable.
unit?
Yeah, and you're thinking, and in our minds, back in the day, we thought, oh, a house in Bolton, 600,000, 1/3 of the value is 200,000, so it all kind of made sense.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking about, and one of the big goals of our housing plan has been to encourage different types of housing in Bolton, right? Diverse forms of housing that we wouldn't otherwise get, because if a developer is, able to build houses, they're gonna build big houses and try and sell, the biggest house they can build for the most money that they think they can sell it for. Even if they might have been able to sell a lot more houses at a lower price point more quickly, they're not gonna do that, So, we don't want to encourage people, further encourage them just to build big things. If we can encourage them to build more moderate price housing, we had a couple of different people come in over the years that talked to us about doing these sort of little urban communities in a town like this, like they did it in Concord, Riverwalk, if you've ever heard of that. Where you build like 10 or 15 houses in a 5-acre site, which obviously our zoning wouldn't allow by any means, but they could do it under a 40B with affordable housing. And it'd be a small one that maybe they end up, those still ended up being, I think, pretty expensive houses.
Concrete ones are expensive, yeah.
You want to think, oh, well, that's gonna, really, this thing that's going on in Sugar Road is more of an example of the kind of thing that we're talking about. Because aren't those gonna sell for
They're still a little, I mean, they're a little bit. on the
450?
higher
Well,
end.
450 in Bolton that's a pretty moderately priced house, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to development houses, you know, big
And the
developments.
affordable ones of those are about somebody would have to pay 160 or something?
I'd have to look at the number, I think it's 168 rings a bell, but it could be
Is there
Yeah.
something
some
other than that.
tracking or something that,
It's
some number that we could easily look up with?
Yeah, it's from
regional.
DHCD, you know, they're,
So there's some regional number we can look up and just take that number?
yeah, we're eastern Worcester County, and it's by county, and,
So you're saying a better idea would say like take
Tie it
that
to the
number?
market value of that number.
well, the only
Add-
reason
take
that
that
comes
number,
to my
add the
mind
Bolton
is that
discount.
then you're not, the way this thing is, and it's the way we thought back then too, we're thinking about 50 unit and 100 unit subdivisions. Well, you're probably not gonna see that many of those. So wouldn't you rather, you know, find a way to encourage a smaller development that you're still gonna get some money out of? Because, like I said, they're not gonna build the unit. It's just not gonna be worth it. Unless it's really low-cost housing. I haven't given you an answer.
So you say 168, 200 isn't that big of a difference, is that enough to dissuade or encourage someone to come in and build? I mean,
No,
you could- because your belief is that people see the 200,000 number and it scares them off.
So
and
you
say,
end up
"Well,
getting nothing."
I don't even wanna,
I'm not saying that it would encourage somebody to produce housing either.
Yeah.
But I am saying that I think that when this was written, this is what everybody was doing. And I don't know why, because I read it now and it doesn't make sense to me to just have a pegged number
Right.
versus
Yeah.
the fair market price.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of, let's say it was the fair market price of land in Bolton, of a lot in Bolton. That would make more sense,
Right.
because that goes up and down over time.
So we had two things in mind, that, and then also the fact where you come up to that point where all of a sudden you owe it, and, or like somebody else was buying into the land, and you end up with the final person getting, screwed with a certificate of occupancy or something. That's
So
what we're
explain
trying
that to me, I'm not understanding that. The person who's bought the house and has moved into it can't get, or is.
So let's take Houghton for an example.
Mhm.
Let's say that he sold off 2 lots,
Mhm.
and he goes and he develops the other one, or or let's say he sells off 5 lots. So then he's got 7 left, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's
So
enough.
he got 7 lots, so he goes and develops a 7, that hasn't triggered any affordable payments yet.
And then
The other person comes in looking for an occupancy permit for unit 8 and was like, well,
So the
where-
person
where's
who's buying the house,
well, the house or whoever has the lots.
or someone who bought the lot is being,
it's whoever's getting the certificate of occupancy.
That's-
That
Yeah,
eighth
that's-
one.
Yeah, for
That's
that
what
for-
we're,
yeah.
collecting the fee is on issuance of that.
So one of the things we were looking at was saying,
so
well,
that
if
could be
you've got-
changed in the subdivision agreement. I mean, when you write the agreement, whatever agreements we wrote, you guys are bound by, unfortunately,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of, you can look back at them years later and say, why'd you do this? It doesn't really make sense, but
Yeah,
as
so we
opposed
were
to.
just kind of taking, so what we were looking at and talking about was basically taking it as a, basically what, on every occupancy permit, it's
There's a
a
percent.
A small
percentage.
percentage.
Because a smaller percentage that's assessed on every unit when it eventually gets an occupancy. Based on the unit, based on the size of the development.
And that stops, like, what we're dealing with Century Mill, right?
So I think that idea's fine.
Right, which
So that's what
is
this
what
is,
this
that's what
table
this
is,
is.
that's what the percentage here is.
Yeah.
Is basically saying, if you've got your.
Seems complicated.
Well, you need, I mean, sorry.
I think-
You have to have a formula for it to.
I was gonna say, I think it's actually straightforward, but, maybe because I like.
Now that I see it.
Actually, if you tie it to the sale price of the affordable, like Doug is saying though,
Yeah.
then you don't have to tie it to the CEO. You could just tie it to lot release or a sale of a lot, and then that way you'll always get
So
it.
that's the other thing that,
I would encourage that.
That's the other thing.
Waiting to see a vote is too late.
Yeah,
well, that's the other thing I was
exactly.
gonna bring up,
And we did
because
always do it that way.
because
Well, because the
It's not
meeting
you.
would,
Mike was saying, Mike Savageau was saying that he doesn't really need our approval to give a certificate of occupancy.
We were gonna look into it, we
Potentially.
were potentially gonna contact town council if we hadn't received the funding, because what he was saying to me is, if all the inspections had been done, and at this point there was nothing tying up certificate of occupancy in terms of his jurisdiction, he didn't know if he could just hold it back, he may have had to issue it regardless. We were gonna look into it, but thankfully we got the money and it didn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't an
If we
issue.
could eliminate, you know, that type of situation.
Well, do it based on building.
But from a building, right, but you don't, but I
So
think we
we
said,
tie it to
I think we
lot
said a
release.
CO, you know, it kind of, the CO, because that's when the builder will be getting the money.
Yeah.
As opposed to a lot release, which is, you know, months before that, so,
But if it's a
Um,
small number, I guess, a smaller number.
well, and it was also, I mean, what we had it tied to the value of the house, that they're, you know, that they're selling.
And you have
So,
1/3 of the value of the house.
1/3 of the value of the house, times whatever, you know, times whatever.
That's the
the-
percentage based on the number of units and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that says, you know, if you're building, you know, when Oaks 2 gets put in, you know, we're gonna be collecting that third off of $1 million houses, and when Crescent Village 2 comes along, then it'll be off of the $450,000 houses. You know, and the density of the various developments will dictate how many units, how many affordable units.
so Houghton Farm was in here saying that they didn't want to pay the 200, they wanted to do a fee in lieu of, they didn't want to do 200, they said that the lot is worth 140, so they'd be
Yeah.
willing to pay that. So I'd almost be inclined to keep your formula the way you have it, and just say it's the regional price of
an
affordable unit.
Yeah.
'Cause maybe, I don't know if it dissuades.
How often do they update that? Every year?
Every year.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, you know, it might change a few $1,000s, it doesn't drastically change. It probably changes less than the value of land changes.
So that's the other, I mean, when we used the sale price of the unit, it was a fixed issue that no one could argue about. If we did something like tie it to this, it's like, well, is the price
Yeah.
5 years ago or the price today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you said, what's the goal, you know, is the goal to prevent development, or is the goal just to get some money for
It sounds like the
inclusionary
goal is
housing?
I
to
mean, the
get
goal
some
is to
money.
get the affordable, the money for the affordable.
Yeah.
which-
Yeah.
So,
But I don't think we wanna, I mean, we
In a
had 2 developers in here.
simpler way.
You could say
Yeah,
that.
in a
And I'm with you
simple,
there. I think the, you know, if you can simplify it,
Yeah.
yeah,
to make it clear
Mm-hmm.
and easy.
yeah.
So you
And
don't
tied to
feel like
value.
you're chasing it down and it's, you know, because whenever you tie it to the value of something, I mean, this is the other thing, I mean, you've been through this with the appraisal thing,
Yeah.
they're gonna do all they can to drive that number down, right?
Well, and which is why we said sale price, because that's kind of
Yeah, you can't,
you know,
That's the price.
and what I had put in, what I put a note in here, is it's basically, it's either the sale price or the assessed value.
so, but there's some book that's, some number that's published every year, the regional affordable.
Affordable.
Yep.
do you know what that is, Eric?
It's through DHCD, I can get all the information for you for the next
Well, does it-
meeting.
So that changes so does it make sense to tie it to that or to the sale price? I guess that's where.
Well, the issue with the sale price that I'm struggling with, and maybe it's not really a big deal, but, you know, a $900,000 house, you know, 1/3 is 300,000,
Yeah.
and a $300,000 house, 1/3 is 100,000.
Right.
And it's not logical to me, as somebody who builds houses, that the number should just keep going up because the houses cost more. Because, you know, you don't make, the bigger the
I
house
see what you're
is,
saying.
you don't make the same amount of money. You don't make, there's no way that math works.
'Cause even if you
There's
had-
no developer who can come up with $300,000 extra off the sale of a $900,000.
Well, no, it's divided by the total number of units, it's not one thing.
Right. But I mean, the logic is still there,
Yeah.
that with a very, you know, high-end,
You're saying they don't make more money off a high-end house? I thought you said earlier.
not per
that they do.
house.
And that's why they all build high-end houses rather than
Well, you,
low-end houses.
you make more money total, but it's not a,
Not more.
you know, it's not incremental that it's exactly the same, I mean.
And really, the sale of an affordable house isn't gonna change.
Right.
Like, no matter what, I mean.
Yeah, so-
costs.
And I just threw that out there to give you some background.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the right answer, because
So if,
I haven't done a lot of
but
research on
I
it.
think we were also looking at, well, I mean, we were kind of looking at, kind of at the, kind of at the lower end of the housing market. If we said, okay, for every, if we take the 160 number, and divide that across the number of units, that's a much bigger percentage into their price than if you go into a $1 million house. I think that was kind of why we were looking at the sale price.
Mhm. And other towns have done that?
There are some towns that have a flat fee,
There was one.
just a
I
certain
thought.
percentage, just.
A percentage of sales price or a percentage of?
percentage of-
Yeah, Newton was 12% of the sales price.
And it's funny, I contacted Newton, they had no idea how they came up with the 12%.
Because I would ask any town, what they do, and then how many units has it produced?
That's a really good question,
And
yeah.
how much money has the town gotten from this?
Yeah.
But we
Because-
have to compare, like, we'd have to ask.
But a place like Century Mill, the size of those houses, like what, they're not gonna put $160,000 house there or whatever. I mean, they're building $700,000 houses there, right? They can't, they're not gonna put an affordable.
No, no,
So
that's
one
why.
thing we looked at years ago was, and we actually looked at it with Houghton Farms, trying to come up with a way to do a duplex unit. Because if you could do a nice duplex unit, and there are duplex units that you can barely tell are, you have two different entrances and two different driveways, and it's just a two-unit condo house, right?
Mhm.
It's cost the same to build.
Doesn't have to look like the duplex you think of in your head.
Triple decker.
It costs the same to build and just you double.
Well, it doesn't cost the
divide
same to
cost.
build, but it doesn't cost twice as much, but you get twice as much income off it,
Yeah.
right? Because now you've sold two units at 168. And we thought that would be the only way that we could actually build housing ourselves, hire Habitat for Humanity to build it or whatever.
Got shut
From the
down,
money
right?
that we had, and people in Bolton were, didn't like that
Duplex
idea. It
and
would
dirty
ruin
work.
the value of their homes and their neighborhood if there was a two-unit house nearby, so.
I think they'd be surprised to know where they are actually.
Yeah, exactly, we have some. So, and that's a way, in a development with more expensive housing, if you could mix those in as part of the development with the affordable in there, that would be a way to get more bang for the buck on the affordable. And he's had lots of ideas over the years, and that was one of them, we talked about it. But we don't really have, 40B, you could allow that, you could approve it,
Yeah.
as part of the permitting process.
Right.
But in any way of our conventional zoning, there's no way to allow it, right? We don't allow 2 units, period. I tried to change that too. It actually almost went through at a town meeting and then kind of got changed. So, I mean, my 2 cents are, for what it's worth, that, just, obviously, we haven't seen this produce housing. So if the goal is to produce affordable housing, this doesn't have a good track record. And again, I would ask any town you talk to, how much has been produced?
I'll ask that.
Because, you could go to Stowe and they produced a ton of affordable housing, but in a huge development, right?
Let's say, because theirs is the one that was based on the median income, nothing to do with the house price at all. Right, 3 times the median income of a family forward, 80% of the median.
So they approved, I don't know how many units that project over on 117, something like 300 units, right? Condos, houses, everything. And I remember when it got approved, I thought, oh, how could they ever fit all that in there? But they did, right? You drive by it, it looks like dense housing.
The
but
one
it's-
by Bose,
Yeah, yeah.
that's 300 units there?
I don't know, 180, I don't know, whatever it is, it's more than we've ever seen in this town. So, 25%.
And they're all
is affordable. No, 25%,
Oh,
it's 40 big, but,
Oh, okay.
the key there, and the key of any, the way to really produce the housing is to do it in dense developments, to where you get to a point of density where the value of the land is a very small percentage of the total cost. When we're talking about single-family homes in a town like Bolton, the value of the land, he could say it's 140, but that's a, you know, maybe there's lots for 140 in Bolton, but that's still a lot, right? You know, it's been 200, you know, at one point it almost was 300, you know, it's kind of gone around.
Well, that was 140 for an unimproved, no, you know, plus whatever you get built later for the road, so.
Right.
So it's
Right.
closer to 200.
But my point is,
Yeah.
in that Stowe development, I'll bet you the land cost was down to $20,000 a unit or something, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't 140,
Sure, but
but it was
it's
much.
dense, yeah.
So,
And it was a 40B, so they could do that, right?
right,
Yeah.
right. So it's a challenge, I mean, you want to improve the process so that it's easier,
Yeah.
and you want to pick a number that has some flexibility to it, you tie it to
Based
the
on
value of the home or the value of the, you know, the affordable, and not just a set number. I agree, that, you know, seems.
What do you think of tying it, like, if we did it for each unit, tying it to a lot release versus a CO?
I think that's a great idea.
I'd much rather see it tied to either the lot release or even a building permit versus.
Which comes first, is the building permit? The lot release first?
The lot release first, then the building permit.
Then the building permit, and your CO was the
Yeah.
last thing, and that's where
Like-
these people were.
Yeah.
So the lot release.
That's what we don't want to
And
do.
like Mike Savageau was saying to me, he said, at that point, you're really impacting the people that have purchased the house. You're not really impacting
Yeah.
the developer at all.
Yeah.
So I think moving forward, we really should be looking at building permits and lot releases only.
I
think
I
it's
like that.
much
better.
cleaner.
I mean,
Yep. So we'd have to change the inclusionary housing bylaw as well then, to change that from CO to, or where is that
Well,
spelled out?
that's what we're doing right now. I mean,
Oh,
right now,
we were
it's-
just changing the
that's
fee and lieu
just-
section, but, oh, does it say at the CO? Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that in there.
What? When you pay it?
You would not put it in?
Well, I wouldn't, you could say to be paid based on, well, there's two ways to look at it. One is you put it in there if you're absolutely certain that lot release is when you want it. Put it in there, it's in there. Can't be debated. The other is if you say the planning board will determine when
Will
that is done,
determine.
it gives you the opportunity
Yeah,
to
that's probably
negotiate
right.
that and decide what, you know, whether or not you want to have some flexibility.
Yeah, maybe that's what.
No, but the other thing about, in lieu of, you know, there should be something in here that says suitable to the planning board, you know, so that you're the one with the upper hand making the decision as opposed to the developer telling you, well, this is what I can do because that's what your bylaw says.
Yeah, I mean, you could also say, you know, to be paid, you know, at the time of the lot release or upon discretion of the planning board or something. I mean, you could add.
You could say that. And I'm not telling you, you
Then
know,
it gives-
because once you do that, they're gonna fight you on it. So if you know what you want, then lock it down, but if you're not sure that that's the best thing.
Actually, it can't really be lot release now that I'm thinking about it, because every subdivision has different types of performance guarantees. It may not be by covenant, it may be by some other form of surety, so typically it's been that way, but what if it's not? Maybe it's a Houghton Farm is a tri-party agreement. We don't do lot releases on Houghton Farm.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
So that's
So
a
it has to
bad
be the
example.
building permit then?
It'd have to be building permit. So maybe we do like Doug is saying, why don't we just put it to the discretion of the planning board at the time of.
But I would say I would say
Yeah.
building permit or
To the discretion of the.
some other clear designated,
Yeah.
you know,
So
timeframe. by the
At least
planning
by saying building permit, they have an idea of the timeframe. And if they want to do
Yeah.
something different, then it's approach us and
Yeah.
we can talk about it, but
Yeah.
it's- you gotta put something down there.
I agree.
Okay. So,
I'd like to get back to like the goal of the inclusionary though is to build affordable units. I mean, that's the idea, right?
Right.
So at some
Well, I would
point,
say this is the primary goal, was the primary goal. If any development is going to happen, it should include its share of the affordable goal that the state requires. So I don't think that it really was, we were thinking, this is gonna spur development. I think we were thinking, development's happening anyway, we should be getting
Yeah.
affordable units.
Yeah.
And in fact, there were some people at the time who said, this is just gonna kill development. And I remember thinking, no, this, you know.
So we
You're not gonna kill
fee,
it.
fee in lieu of up to encourage them to.
Well, I'm not even thinking that, I'm thinking maybe there should be something in here that does encourage them to build it, like allowing for duplexes.
Yeah, that or
Only
a
for-
density bonus is what's gonna.
Yeah, a
that's
lot of
what's
towns
gonna
are going
encourage.
in that direction, density bonuses.
Well, I mean.
But that would
Again,
encourage
density
overall
bonus is
development.
all about reducing the cost of the land,
Yeah,
right?
I guess we have to think about this more.
Yeah.
That could be part 2 in 2018.
I mean, you
Let's
could
fix the fee
change it
and then
to, you know, a by version of the phosphid, you know, that if
Yeah.
you do this and you pay the fees, you can do houses one on every acre as opposed to every 2 acres. You know, that would be a 100% density bonus right there. That would be an
I mean, the
incentive.
town doesn't really gain anything off more residents, really, does it?
There's that debate has gone on forever.
Because, you know,
Do we want to encourage,
One-
do we want to encourage growth in Bolton? No, I don't think we do.
the cost of one kid is more than the average taxes, pretty much, right? Because it's like 13,000 a kid, and the average tax is 11 or 12,000 or something, or 13.
So I go back to, at least for me, the goal was, for whatever development there is, it should include its share of affordable.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
fee in lieu of, that can be used for affordable.
But that's my point. My point is, no, we're not gonna be, you know, encouraging, you know, you don't wanna dissuade it necessarily, but encouraging it, you're not gaining anything out of more residences, financially.
I don't think you should be necessarily looking at it like that, though.
Unless it's an over 55, yeah. then
Yeah, I mean, that's, the
yeah.
diversity of housing is a big
Or
one.
young.
And we have done, you know, we've gotten some diversity of
So,
housing.
so given some type of an incentive to an over 55 would be good, because financially that would help.
That's
the town.
another, you
Yeah.
know, thing we can say.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to talk with you.
Now you made us more confused.
More
Sorry.
options.
I'm sorry.
So I guess what we have to decide is if we want to change that sales price, the third of the sales price to the, you know,
Price of the affordable.
the price of the affordable unit. So it would go from,
200,000 to.
Well, see, either it's the third of the sales price, or it's just the price of the affordable.
The price of the affordable unit, yeah.
whatever
Based
that,
on, we use.
whatever the book is, you know, whatever the
Um,
book says it is, the state regional book.
Yeah, but you're still using this percentage, right?
Yeah, you still use
Yeah.
this chart.
Well, yeah, so that.
Divided by the total, so instead of the third of the sales price, you just take the sales price of an affordable divided by total number of units, and you still
Correct.
get your same table.
Yeah,
Correct.
Times
Yeah.
the number of affordables.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, if we feel like we're gonna change this law significantly, do we wanna change it right now? Like to
Well-
put in the formula, or do you wanna just change the flat fee to something along the lines of whatever the average affordable housing price is with a payment schedule as determined by the plan?
So you're saying just make it easy this year, just go from 200,000 to
I
cost
think
of affordable?
Like, my position would be, I think we just want to fix the fee in lieu of right now, and take care of this number, get rid of the
No, I agree with
200,000.
you, yeah.
And then,
Instead
like you
of-
said, part 2,
This
2018,
payment schedule?
then we can look at,
Well,
no,
do we allow density bonuses?
Bonuses.
for-
Yeah, no,
Do we
keep-
do-
Oh,
Do
keep
this-
this payment schedule.
keep this payment schedule and change it to be, if we want, either the third of the sale price or the sale of the, but not to go into this whole density bonus
Oh,
and all
yeah,
these
yeah,
other
yeah.
type of things
Definitely.
until this is taken care of. Because
Oh,
I
for
think
sure.
that's gonna blow up, and
Oh,
we're gonna need.
That would be a big
Well,
discussion.
Yes.
that may be a significant rewrite of that.
And I don't want it to inhibit this getting changed, because I don't want to go through another whole year of just having the 200,000
Yeah.
and getting us stuck there.
It may or may not make any difference.
But
in
and actually-
development,
But
Yeah.
all I'm saying is if we put together a formula and a payment schedule, right now, if something comes along next year and some developer got trapped into that, and then, oh, by the way, we're changing this in the next year anyway.
I mean, Hood Farms,
I mean, it happens all the time. And
Yeah.
Hood Farms.
If regulations change, if the developer and us agree, they can jump to the new regulations, can't they?
They can voluntarily, they don't,
Right, they can,
they don't
right,
have
like
to.
I said, if they and us agree to allow the change.
As long as it doesn't go against this, but it would, most likely we would be, oh, you're saying because we.
So in 18, if we add in some density benefits and things like that, and the developer says, well, I'd really like to take advantage of that.
I don't think they can until it's passed.
Because
Well, no, once it's passed. Oh, you mean they're locked in for the 7 years, even if we both agree to change it?
I want town council to.
Yeah, I don't- yeah,
I don't think
I
they
don't
can do
think
that
so.
until it's passed.
I mean,
Okay.
potentially we could scrap the fee in lieu of, right? I mean, we're not required to have it. Other towns
Yeah.
don't necessarily have that. So
But I think the whole point was, in what Doug was saying, is if someone's doing development, they should consider affordable housing with their development.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, the state has put a thing out there that if, it should be considered in part of it.
Right, but also, as he was saying, a duplex is not
Yeah,
allowed. So I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of other things in our bylaws that,
That we could add
well,
incentives.
that prohibit
Yeah.
a lot of it and that do force, a lot of the
Yeah.
single-family housing developments to want, more toward the fee in lieu of instead of doing an affordable unit.
So as a group, I don't know where we stand exactly on the sales price, but on the, I do think we should change the line where it says prior to the certificate of occupancy.
Correct.
Change that prior to the building permit or
with the discretion
discretion
of
of the
the
planning board.
Yeah.
So change
Yes.
that.
Okay, prior to the building permit or at the discretion of the planning
Yes,
board?
Yeah.
or at the,
Instead of certificate of occupancy. I definitely don't want to be put in a situation where
you
homeowners are.
ruin somebody's Christmas.
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
that was pretty awful.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
developers do that all the
They
time.
do want to,
you know,
yeah.
I
but
mean,
Just show
I'm
up
not-
and sad.
I'm not sure that it really makes that much of a difference. Because, I mean, the developer is sitting on a completed house that they can't sell until they have the CO.
Well, right, but then, they-
And they get the CO and go to closing and they're done with it. So it just means they're
but with
putting
the
a check in
CO
place.
though, they could bring in the potential homeowner and be like, oh, look, you're hurting them, not me.
Go to closing, write us a check, you're done.
I thought the
Yeah.
closing happened when they did the lot release. Because I don't, maybe I'm wrong, Andy always says, oh, I have a closing, I need this lot release.
Mhm.
I think it may happen sooner rather than at this.
Well, and that's why when I was looking at it, I said,
That's what he
it's
sells
either
a lot,
the
though,
sale
right?
price
When
or,
he's selling the
Oh,
lot.
Yeah,
that's
he's
just the
selling
sale of the
them.
I
lot.
think that's what that is. Because that's what this was. He was,
Okay.
this,
Yeah, it
he
was,
was
it wasn't
releasing
the
a lot
closing of the house, it was
It's
supposed
to
to be
sell
sale
a
of the
lot to
lot.
somebody who's gonna build his own house.
So it's definitely, I think we should change that. And then, I don't know, do we think we should change it from the sales price, a market rate unit to,
Well, if you change to mention the building permit, you kind of have to.
You're right,
You do have to
exactly.
change the sales
Yeah.
price.
Because you don't need to sell before.
Yeah,
let's do that. I mean, I think that might be a cleaner number anyway.
Let's just, yeah, can we just double check that the number really is like
Yeah, I'll do all that
168?
research and bring it for the next
And
meeting.
actually, so I know Houghton Farm, they were willing to pay 140, but they didn't want to pay 200.
Mhm.
So they definitely wouldn't want to pay more. than
168, but that, I mean,
No, but I'm
that's,
saying their number might potentially go up from 200.
Well, if we at least had a justification for what the number was, we said.
which, his justification is right on, I mean, this is what an affordable unit would cost
Yeah.
for someone to buy.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to get here,
Yes.
that's the whole point of this, so
Yeah.
I think we have a stronger stance on that number
So,
than.
yeah,
Yeah,
it makes sense.
it's okay.
So let's do that. I don't know what Dave would think of that or not, but,
Oh, we'll make those changes then.
yeah.
Yeah, and you'll have the back, that number, so we can, so that would just be, so the fee in lieu of would be the affordable unit cost,
Yep,
time,
divided by the total number of units.
divided by number of units,
multiplied by the number of affordable in the development.
Yep,
times
Yeah.
number of.
yep.
And then are we using this
Yeah.
breakdown?
Well,
that still works.
that's what the breakdown.
It's just the percentage.
accomplishes,
I think
yeah.
this, yeah, this
This
makes sense.
percentage is just, instead of the percentage of a third of a unit of sales of market rate, it's just the percentage of that 160 number. Right?
Yeah, so this is just saying, so.
Yeah, if
this
you
is
have
just-
8 lots, the 160 is times 4, it's 4.17%.
Each,
of 160. Exactly.
building permit would require, would have a 4%, 4.17%.
So that way it's equal for every single.
For every single,
box.
every single
Yes.
building permit.
No, I like this, because then they know right up front, we've got a chart right here, or you can
Yeah.
even do the spreadsheet out to, we think we're gonna get more.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, not to go down a rabbit hole, but at some point, we're gonna need to get a number of how many lots CME has sold off to other people, right?
Well, first, I mean, this doesn't really go for them.
No, that's what I'm saying, totally
Yeah.
tangential, just for
Oh,
future
okay.
planning, we'll need to understand that.
Well, it shouldn't matter, right? Because when those people want to do a building permit, whatever subdivision, they still pay this number, stays the same per unit.
I'm just.
No,
saying
he's just
in
saying for
general,
CME, I mean,
I just was.
if Andy's
thinking
selling
about
off lots, then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, it sounds like he's selling off a lot of lots.
Yeah, and are we gonna, how are we gonna collect the?
Yeah, we're gonna lose the ability to collect
Yeah.
on him at some point.
Right, 'cause you're gonna get out of the picture eventually.
Yeah, he'll sell off, the last 20 lots and.
The last 20 lots.
And just
Yeah.
here,
Seal
we're
in.
gonna be, we're gonna be short an affordable,
Yeah.
fee.
Alright,
Okay.
Next.
But then I think also as part of that, then paragraph B here can disappear, because that was what Dave was trying to deal with the multiple.
Right,
So-
yeah, and
so
it's
we
all
can get rid of
included
it?
in this. Yeah, because
Yeah.
B is for, B is
Multiple
taken
fees
care of in
involved,
this
yeah.
formula.
That's what I was thinking,
Times.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I like that.
yeah.
Simple about it.
That's all clear?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Right, Article 2. Which one's this?
Fast food.
Oh, fast food. Oh, yeah, so just get that.
Yeah, I don't think
I
that's.
don't have any issues with this.
nothing changed from the
Yeah.
last time.
Okay.
Oh, did we find out if we have to put the intent in the description of the bylaw? We talked about that, right?
That's something that town council's gonna weigh in more towards the end of the
So
process.
taking that whole intent portion and.
Yeah, because they're gonna review all the articles, and I figured they can just do that, when they,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the definition of fast food.
Right,
I'm not sure
I
why,
don't see why.
I'm not sure why that intent there.
Okay. 3 is fine,
3 is fine.
4 is fine. We already talked about that.
Hold on. 4, the
Yeah.
accessory definitions,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. 5, that.
Basement, yeah.
6. So are these Dave's changes? These
Yes.
comments in here?
The ones in pink,
Okay.
or basically, yeah. And you can see his comments,
I typically save to do the summaries towards the end.
Dave would like it sooner.
that's okay, yeah. I'm okay with it.
So nothing really changed? What is this?
Minor wording in section A, E.
No, it's the same.
Which one are we looking at?
Okay. It's 6. So
Oh,
nothing
5.
changed there. I think we were good with that.
Fire, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were gonna determine the size. So, wait. So you said shall be informed by the design of the capacity of any fire from the host should be subject to the approval of the planning board. Oh, yeah, okay, so we left it open and we would determine based on the fire department and whatever the national.
Yeah,
requirements.
and I sent that to the fire department for their review. I haven't heard back yet, but I'll let you know if they have any comments on it.
Okay.
Sounds good. 7 is, so we took out, oh, you just referred to the previous one. So what happens in 7 again?
I apologize, I gave my copy to Doug. Which one was 7?
Oh,
Oh,
Firefighting and water.
So, under section 250-23 that talks about the business regulations, that's where the old language
Okay.
resided about,
okay,
so it's just clearing it up, clarifying.
so it's taking that old language out and saying,
Yeah.
okay, now we have this new bylaw.
And just
Yeah.
refer to that, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha, that makes sense. 8 is driveways,
yeah.
existing driveways that provide access to new dwelling shall be required to meet the provisional spec.
Oh, so this is just if you're doing a, so it's an old lot and you're rebuilding, You need a new
Yeah,
building
you say you
permit?
have an old
You're gonna
house
tear
that's,
down.
you're gonna tear down and you're gonna put up a new house, you have to then,
You're subject to
You're-
any new house being
Yeah.
built on a lot.
Has to be, meet these bylaws,
Like
right?
these bylaws, so if you're rebuilding a house, if you're tearing down a 1,000 square foot ranch and putting up a new house, then you're
your
subject.
your
that's fine.
driveway needs to be, yeah, meet the bylaw.
That's fine.
Okay.
Is new,
So what-
does new dwellings need to be defined or anything, or is it?
That's a good question. I can talk to Mike Savageau about it and see if he thinks it needs further clarification.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear, but, we don't want any loopholes, I guess.
Yeah.
So this.
Or we don't wanna make it more complicated than it should be too,
Right.
so.
So would this apply if a house burned down and they were rebuilding it?
No, that's a really good point. Maybe we shouldn't be adding that in. I don't think it should apply. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, they really should be grandfathered and
Yeah.
under what, actually, yeah.
Well, I mean, presumably you're gonna be rebuilding.
Yeah, insurance.
Yeah,
Insurance
you almost-
is paying
you
for
almost
it.
want it,
Insurance is gonna
actually.
pay for it to rebuild what was there, so
Yeah.
you're not changing, you're not increasing.
So one says I actually think it should be compliant with the new bylaw.
It should be?
It should be. Why wouldn't you want it to be up to date and, I mean, it's
every
gotta
other-
be-
Everything else would have to be updated, right? All your building codes and whatever would have
Yeah.
to be built to your new standards. So.
I don't know.
But this would be out of pocket, like
Could you-
insurance wouldn't be covering
Yeah,
it. So
insurance
I
would
feel
cover
like
for
this
not
would
being
be
to the
really,
driveway.
Okay,
I don't know, I think this would be overstepping it.
okay. So we should, so it says existing driveways that provide access to new dwellings.
So what officially
Yeah.
kind of kicks off a new dwelling? Is there
That's-
a building permit?
Well, I
or-
had put that in, and I think David had taken it out. I think I had put new dwelling,
Should you add that to the definitions or something?
I forgot the word, I maybe
thought it
issued
said tear
a building
down.
permit, I think that's what I had said, something like that.
We use the word tear down. yeah.
But we don't want to
I
say
I originally
talked
used the
about
word
tear
tear
down.
down, but I think new dwelling may be
requires
a
a,
better term.
but you don't want to say requires a building permit, because small things can require a building permit.
Can
Well,
you-
I wouldn't, that's why it would be new dwelling.
Can
It
you
wouldn't
say
be
new
additions
dwelling as
or-
determined by the building inspector or something? Should you say something like that?
I think we need to define new dwelling, if we're gonna use that term.
I
Okay.
think so.
Is there a term you prefer to use? It doesn't have to be new dwelling.
That provide access to,
Newly constructed
I
dwelling?
mean, I know what you're trying to say, it's kind of like, you know, when you see
newly
it.
constructed.
Newly constructed
buildings.
house.
House,
Yeah.
newly. I mean, here's
New
a total, you have a house, half of it burns down or whatever, or you want to just tear down half of it and, add on this huge addition, but you're still keeping half of it. Is that considered?
Like, can they keep the old branches like a woodshed and?
Yeah, no, I'm just
Right
thinking of
around
like, obviously the simple case is you tear it all down and you build a whole brand new house, and that's clearly
I'm not sure,
makes
like,
sense, but if you
yeah.
were to keep a portion of your house and,
Keeping a portion of it may grandfather in a lot of setbacks
Yeah.
and stuff that a
Well,
new
that-
house wouldn't have to. would.
Yeah,
can you
so
say
when-
new
when
dwellings
is it
where
triggered
no
that this
portion of,
I think it would have to be a whole new.
can you say
newly
new
constructed
dwellings where
home.
no portion of the old dwelling is still?
That's,
So I saw this,
Oh,
I saw this in Maine one time, it was on the water, and it was near going to a friend's house, and they were, building a new house. They left literally one window and the piece of wall below the window
Yeah.
because of something
of
like
the
this.
setbacks,
It wasn't
and
a
how
complete
close it
tear
is,
down.
yeah.
It was still some existing piece, and I just happened to be there when there was this one window, it was like all propped up. And I said,
Yeah,
"I can't believe that."
I've seen them leave a chimney.
Yeah,
I've seen-
something
That's why I
like
was
that.
saying new
Yeah.
dwelling as determined by the building inspector. Just leave it open to interpretation.
No, I think we
Building
need to
inspector or
define
planning
it.
board?
I think we should,
Yeah.
oh, we don't have to define
I
it
don't want the
tonight,
planning,
but-
I don't want the planning board have to weigh in on every single new house, that's why I was saying building inspector. but-
Well, remember, I mean, this is only when somebody's doing something significant to an existing lot.
Yeah.
Not for new
But
development.
the planning board isn't looking at single house driveways anyway, right? That's
The planning board?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Single house driveways?
Oh, yeah.
I know it's, if it's a scenic, it comes to us, but for any,
It doesn't
Single
go to the
house?
board, but I sign off for you,
So
so
you-
I
you s-
review.
right, so we don't see it at the board.
No, but
And if there was a
I have
question,
to
it
have
would
your
come to
behalf,
us.
and
Yeah.
when there's a
Well-
question, I bring it.
Oh, okay.
So is the intent that if they bulldoze the house, they build, new house,
They have to
they
do
have
it.
to do this. But if they do anything less than that, then they don't have to comply with that. 'Cause
That
if
was
that's-
my
If that's the
intention.
intent, I think we can make that very clear.
Yeah.
We can just say, that provides access to when existing house is raised and new dwelling is built.
Yeah, that's fine. That
I mean,
sounds
we
good.
could,
Yeah.
But that doesn't address when they tear down the ranch and build the McMansion.
And leave a window.
Leave one window standing there, yeah.
I wasn't trying to go there.
Well, you know what?
Say,
No, but
let's
yeah.
Let's just do what you said
Yeah.
and see if that's happening. And if that's happening, we'll address it as.
Yeah.
Why are we, has this happened? Is there a reason why we're doing this? Has this happened?
Yeah, no houses.
It's somewhat common practice because
Yeah.
Harold Brown, DPW director, he recommends it when a new house goes up that their driveway meets the bylaw. And recently someone pushed back and we really had no footing
So
to,
it did happen.
yeah. I think if someone's that concerned about having to upgrade their driveway to meet the code that they leave a wall or a window,
I
and
know.
that's
Yeah.
that's up to them, that's
Yeah.
fine.
No, and that's why I think what your intent is, if they're getting rid of it and they're building a new one, we'll just say, if the house is being raised and they're constructing a new dwelling, they have to meet the driveway line.
Yeah.
And that's it. And keep it simple.
And you can say substantially new dwelling or some, something.
No, I was just saying,
Yeah,
a new
right.
dwelling.
Yeah.
Any new
Just say
dwelling.
existing dwelling raised, a new dwelling
And new dwelling is built.
is built.
Yeah, existing dwelling is raised and new dwelling is built, or constructed, however you want it.
Okay, I'll use constructed.
So we good with that?
Yep.
Article
And
9?
then are we adding a sentence about, with the exception of dwellings that have burnt down, undergone a fire?
Or how about you say, with the exception of dwellings affected by, natural disasters? Is fire considered a natural disaster, like a house, or is that not?
If a tree falls on a house.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
they
would
have to
almost like
rebuild
to
it,
include it with natural
That's,
disasters,
I like that term.
Yeah.
because, I mean, I
Yeah.
think natural disasters,
I'll find out.
yeah,
Yeah.
because obviously someone accidentally has a fire in their house by curling irons or whatever, something, that's not a natural disaster.
Well, we
but
could
you
say-
still
The
want-
kid's using a gas to start the fireplace.
I mean,
Yes.
we could just say affected by natural disasters, including fires,
Yes,
and then that way we're.
not arson though. Oh my God. Sorry.
Are we gonna get out of building this driveway?
Okay.
Went to jail, but didn't have to go there.
Okay, then Article 9 is
I
the,
agree with Dave's comment. I would say it's moot at this point.
It's probably moot. I sent an email to town council.
So
for
when did
their
that happen
opinion.
anyway?
That
No, it's
happened recently.
Yeah,
Oh, in
it's in
your
the news.
packet is, there's an
in
article from
the,
the
in
archive.
the,
Yeah, I
the
saw
drugs
this.
of the legislative session, I forget what they called that, but it's basically, there were like 3 people that voted on it.
Yeah, because they were questioning.
They were out of session and they
Yeah.
It was
could,
right before Christmas, because they were,
Yeah.
the news people were like, why did you do this when there was only 3 people around? Were you trying to,
yeah.
So
my-
is this
my-
just
my-
shops or is this cultivation as well, or the moratorium?
This is pushing back, I think everything everything that the CCC needed to oversee,
Yeah.
which would have been shops and
It's
cultivation
everything,
and everything.
yeah. It's just slowing it
My
It can't be
only-
overturned, we shouldn't do it just in case, or?
Well, that's what I was gonna say, I mean, the full legislature could come back in and smack the leadership and say, no, we're gonna reinstate the
I think we should
original
still do it.
date. Putting this in there doesn't hurt.
Right.
It may overlap with, if the legislature doesn't change, it doesn't revoke that change, then this is kind of redundant.
I think we should.
Or we could pull it, but it doesn't hurt to have it there and in place in case the
I was
legislation
trying to.
does change.
Yeah, I was trying to understand the date, so you said it goes through November 6th of 2018.
Yeah, they basically gave themselves a year.
No, but I'm saying ours,
Oh,
the wording in this.
it could be off. I had taken it from another town and
Oh, okay.
I didn't put a whole lot of.
So that
thought
date
into
is
the
just
date.
based on whatever that town's town
Yeah,
meeting was.
yeah, it must.
So that
So
would change.
that can change to, is it May 2018? Or,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
would be, yeah. Or from whenever, if I was passing May, but the official in June 1st,
is it
or,
the fiscal year that they become a,
I'm not sure.
I thought it was after.
However it
fiscal year.
works.
I think when we define the
I think it's
our
going to be
moratorium, we can make it whatever we,
I personally think we should leave it, it doesn't,
Well, we have to leave it at least until the public hearing because they've already sent out the legal notices to the paper and it included this as an article, so
okay,
in order to get rid of it now, the
Okay.
planning board's gonna have to vote to not bring it forward.
okay.
I mean, I was gonna suggest that we keep it as well, just,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't
Okay.
Doesn't hurt.
And
Okay,
it will prompt all sorts of interesting discussion
Yeah.
at town meeting, I'm
Oh,
sure.
goodness, can I
And-
make
and-
sure it's the last article?
I'll let you
No,
know
no,
which town
no,
council
you want
says.
it in the
I've already
middle,
reached out
and then
to
you
them,
put all
so.
the more controversial.
There's ones
stuff.
afterwards,
Or-
yeah, yeah, so you can go back.
But,
I gotta say, I moved here in 2014, and I went to the town meeting, what was it, May of 2015, which I was just like, holy cow, I mean, that was.
That was the Dave Lindsay-
The
the
budget
Dave
was
Lindsay
voted
meeting.
down, and after that, it just was like, oh my
Is
goodness.
Dave Lindsay still in town?
And
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, and
Just gave
then
up.
we went,
the last town meeting, he was traveling, he was on a trip somewhere, so he couldn't.
but then last town meeting, everything passed.
Yeah.
It was like two huge extremes, I'm like, I can't figure out this town.
People like
Town meeting burnout last night.
Yeah, it was burnout, people were like, oh my god, if we don't approve everything, we're gonna have to come back, just approve everything.
Yeah, it was such extremes.
I think it happens like that. It's like
yeah.
one year everybody gets all riled up. And
There was nothing crazy controversial. The green, what do you call it?
Yeah, there's nothing really controversial.
The green trust, what was it that was signed up for this year? The stretch
Green
goals?
Community,
Green
the
Community
stretch
Act,
code?
yeah.
Yeah, so we should be hearing back on that very soon, hopefully.
Can you give us, I don't know if you want to do this, an update on the ZBA last night?
Nothing happened.
No?
They continued the hearing on 401 Main Street because.
So they didn't have the hearing?
No, they didn't because they, that Bolton Pan neighborhood that had filed the appeal subsequently filed a request for zoning enforcement to Mike, and then Mike had to respond to that, and essentially he just affirmed what he had said originally, that it was exempt and the uses out there are, you know, they're in compliance. And so now the neighborhood is going to appeal that determination. So it was all agreed that both appeals should be heard at the same evening, essentially.
Okay.
And then also their attorney couldn't be present, so they would have been at a disadvantage if they had started it last night, so.
Okay.
So when did they move?
Oh, I was sorry, so it got moved to February 28th in the library, 7 o'clock if anyone wants to go.
I was gonna watch it, but I'll take it.
Not worth watching.
Well, no, I'm saying this one, I mean, if it was a real
Oh, right,
hearing,
right,
I
okay.
would have watched it just to keep it. All
All
right,
all set or?
yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
all right.